The next morning, Jonathan found himself reflecting on the events of the previous night. He was proud of the business success, but more than that, he was curious about Mata. He realized that in his world of luxury and ambition, he had never truly asked about her life beyond the walls of his estate over tea. He gently inquired about her family, her past, her dreams. Mata hesitated at first, her humility urging her to minimize her story, but she spoke. Jonathan listened with rapt attention. She told him about her younger siblings, the sacrifices she made to support them. In the nights she spent working multiple jobs just to ensure they had food and education. She spoke of unfulfilled dreams, creative talents she had never pursued, and the quiet dignity with which she faced adversity. Jonathan felt a mixture of awe and guilt. Here was a woman whose strength had always been invisible to the world, yet she carried herself with remarkable grace. Her life was a tapestry of challenges met with resilience, kindness, and integrity. He began to see her not just an employee or companion, but a person of profound character. Someone whose worth was immeasurable by conventional standards. He realized that wealth and social status had often blinded him to the value of human depth and character. Mata's story was a revelation, reminding him that true richness lay in empathy, courage, and the quiet heroism of ordinary lives. This newfound understanding shifted something fundamental within him, inspiring a desire to create opportunities for her that were long overdue. To Jonathan's decision came swiftly but thoughtfully. He arranged for Mata to pursue her long-suppressed business, supporting her education and providing resources for her creative ambitions. The gesture was not charity, it was a recognition of her worth and potential. Mata's life began to transform. She pursued her dreams with vigor, inspired by the trust and belief Jonathan had placed in her. In turn, Jonathan learned to value character over appearances, compassion over competition, and courage over conformity. Their relationship evolved into one of mutual respect and admiration. In the profound sense of partnership, the ripple effects extended beyond their lives. Mata's achievements inspired others within the household and the company, demonstrating the power of opportunity and recognition. Investors, colleagues, and acquaintances who had once doubted her began to respect the wisdom she had quietly carried all along. In the end, both Jonathan and Mata discovered that success was not measured solely by wealth or accolades, but by the courage to see and nurture the potential in others. Their journey was a testament to the transformative power of respect, empathy, and the simple yet profound truth that every person carries untold value, waiting only for the chance to shine. The desert cause had barely arrived when disaster struck. One of the main investors, a notoriously difficult man named Gregory A.S., challenged Jonathan's latest proposal, raising objections that could potentially derail the entire deal. The room became tense, the polite smiles replaced with subtle hostility. Jonathan felt a cold sweat form on his brow, realizing that all the months of preparation could unravel in a matter of minutes. Mata, sensing the tension, leaned slightly toward Jonathan. Perhaps you could approach it from a different perspective, she suggested softly. Jonathan raised one eyebrow. Her calmness in the face of such pressure was astonishing. When Gregory continued to press his objections, Mata spoke. "I understand your concerns, Mr. Elias," she began, her voice steady and measured, "but consider the impact this decision has on the people who rely on your company's services daily. Sometimes long-term value is more important than immediate gains." The room fell silent, stunned by the maid's composed reasoning. Her words were neither arrogant nor presumptuous. They were rooted in clarity and compassion. The investors began to murmur among themselves, reassessing their positions. Gregory's stern expression softened. He listened more intently. The tension eased, replaced by a sense of contemplation. Jonathan realized that Mata had done something remarkable. She had not only salvaged the conversation but had subtly guided the group toward a more thoughtful, human-centered approach. By the end of the evening, the proposal was back on track. Investors congratulated Jonathan, but he knew the real credit belonged to Mata. She had remained quiet, observant, and measured throughout the crisis, yet her insight had tipped the balance. It was a moment that would forever change Jonathan's understanding of wisdom and leadership. The maid, once an unnoticed presence, had become the silent catalyst for success. The dining hall was alive with chatter, the clinking of fine china, and the subtle strains of a string quartet in the background. Jonathan and Mata entered, and every eye in the room followed them. Whispers traveled from one corner to another, some filled with curiosity, others tinged with disdain. Is he really his guest? Why would he bring her? The questions hung in the air like clouds, heavy and elementary. Mata felt a twinge of nervousness but held her head high, her eyes scanning the room with quiet curiosity. The other guests dressed in expensive suits and designer dresses offered polite smiles, some forced, some genuine, but none expected her to speak or make an impression. She noticed the subtle glances, the faint smirks, and the occasional whispered remark, yet instead of retreating into silence, she allowed herself a gentle smile, acknowledging the tension without letting it shake her composure as the meal began. Jonathan introduced Mata to the table. This is Mata. She has been part of my life and household for several years. I thought it would be good to have someone genuine here tonight. The words carried weight, but the reactions were mixed. A few guests raised eyebrows, some exchanged smirks, and others looked on in surprise. The first guest arrived, and the conversation turned toward business, strategy, and market forecasts. Mata listened attentively, asking questions at moments that revealed her thoughtful nature. Her observations were simple but insightful, often highlighting perspectives that others overlooked. Have you considered how this decision might affect smaller clients? She asked in a soft, steady voice. The table fell silent for a moment, and then murmurs of approval spread. The investors began nodding in agreement. Jonathan watched her impressed. She wasn't trying to compete with the others, she was simply speaking her truth, her honesty cutting through the layers of formality. With each comment, the room shifted slightly. The DNA became less about status and more about substance. People began to listen, some out of respect, some out of curiosity, and a few begrudgingly. By the end of the meal, Mata had subtly transformed the dynamic of the evening. The initial skepticism had given way to quiet admiration, and a few influential guests approached Jonathan privately, praising her insight. Mata herself remained modest, focusing on the conversation at hand, never allowing the praise to inflate her ego. For Jonathan, the evening was already a success, not because of the business outcomes, but because he had witnessed a quiet courage that illuminated a room in ways money never could. The grand chandelier sparkled above the dining hall, scattering light across the polished marble floor. Jonathan Blake, a self-made millionaire, paced nervously, straightening his tailored suit for the third time. Tonight was the night that could determine the future of his company, a business dinner with investors and industry leaders who held the power to propel him into international recognition. Everything had to be perfect: the wine selection, the seating arrangement, the menu, the conversation topics. Yet, amidst all the preparation, there was one decision he couldn't stop thinking about. Mata, his maid, had been with him for over 3 years. She was quiet, diligent, and always in the background, cleaning and organizing his sprawling estate, managing errands, and offering a listening ear when no one else seemed to care. Jonathan had always respected her work, but lately, he found himself admiring her in a different way. She possessed a calm confidence, a sharp intelligence hidden beneath her gentle demeanor, and a warmth that was rare in the cutthroat world he inhabited. He had never voiced these thoughts to anyone, not even himself. As he rehearsed his opening speech for the investors, an impulsive idea struck him. Perhaps the presence of someone genuine, someone untouched by wealth and ambition, might lighten the stifling formality of the evening. He picked up the phone and called Mata into his study. Mata, he said, his voice slightly unsteady, would you come with me to the dinner tonight? Her eyes widened in surprise. To the dinner, sir? She asked, unsure if she had heard him correctly. Yes, Jonathan replied. I think it might be. Good, I want you, dear Mata hesitated. She had never been invited to such a family gathering, where suits and gowns were the norm and conversations were filled with jargon she barely understood, but there was something in Jonathan's eyes, a vulnerability that made her accept. As the day progressed, word of the unusual invitation spread among the staff and a few acquaintances. Whispers filled the corridors, questioning why the millionaire would take his maid to an event of such prestige. The guests themselves were bound to notice the unusual pairing, and Jonathan knew it still. He felt a strange sense of exhilaration. Perhaps, he thought, the evening would prove that character mattered more than social status, that true value could shine through even in the most family of settings. When Mata arrived, dressed in a simple yet elegant gown, Jonathan's heart skipped a beat. She didn't need designer labels or jewelry. Her poise and grace made her stand out effortlessly. As they left the house together, Jonathan felt a flicker of hope that tonight might not just be about business deals, but about discovering a new kind of joy and authenticity. The evening held unknown challenges, but he sensed that something profound was about to unfold.